After you've had a debate based off merit, right? We should do what we did as young people when we played sports. Like, what did we do, win or lose, as a team when we finished the game?
Lined up and high five the other team and shake hands or whatever.
Yep, shake hands, said good game, and moved on from there. Like, I think the I never quite understood why would you teach some kids to do that if you didn't think there was some value in that lesson for them to take on later. Like, the thought that goes in my head, guys, is that good sportsmanship is appreciated when we're young, and good sportsmanship should be exhibited and carried over when we're adults too.
I agree completely.
Because nobody likes a sore loser,
Hmm.
and nobody likes a sore winner. So if you're able to come off of this debate or discussion and say, you know what, George, thanks so much for sharing this with me. I know it wasn't easy. I definitely learned some things about where you're coming from and the backstory behind why this position is so important to you. And even if we don't still see eye to eye, I can appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think conversations and debates would be had going forward if we had that sort of sense of gratitude for somebody to open up and have that conversation, take the time? I think one thing that comes up top of mind for me that makes me really grateful about that is we live more in a world, guys, now that people want to have these quote unquote conversations over texting. It's why, like,
It's
the
yeah.
comment section in social media is like
Right.
horrendous.
Yeah.
I made a post a day or two ago, and people on my network were like, hey, this seems kind of broad. Can you share with me what you think more in detail in the comment section? No. No. You want to know why? No. Because it's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap because the moment I start to share that, it leads it for everyone else to be, I'm exposed to people that I may not have wanted to trust that gift with, as far as understanding more transparency, that they can just nitpick in that sort. But what I often don't see, and it sticks out like a sore thumb with me when it does happen, rarely, but it does. When someone takes the time to pick up the phone or get on a Zoom call or meet in person for lunch and actually have a conversation, just you and him or her. That's why number four is so helpful and so meaningful to me, because most people don't even want to take the time to even have a conversation with you about this. They
Yeah.
just want to share their piece in the comments, like or dislike, and think that they've done themselves a service. And so being able to have that good sportsmanship to say, hey, we can walk away from this, and I'll lead this into step number five, being able to respect and love the person afterwards. And even if you disagree, chalk it up as diversity of thought. But more importantly, keep the door open to continue the conversation. Hopefully, this is more of a dialogue that isn't a one time thing. Because oftentimes, what happens is those relationships that mean so much to us, oftentimes in those relationships, we realize the relationship itself is actually more important for us than whether one was right or wrong.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you keep the door open to continue the conversation. You continue to get to know each other. You continue to talk about the topic. But what also happens too, that's pretty remarkable, every time you keep that door open, you continually build a little bit more into that relationship.
That's right. Yeah. A phrase I did Taekwondo very competitively when I was younger, and there was a phrase that we had to live by where it was humble in victory and honorable in defeat. So to like point four, that I think that really ties into that well. And we like to gloat a lot. We showboat and like with social media, everyone puts on their best face, right? We're there's a lot of temptation to brag, right? And Yeah, so even if you are winning, you just make people dislike you, and you're not winning over, you're not influencing, you're actually repelling people. And so kind of having that humble heart, even if you are kind of quote unquote right or winning or whatever, helps bridge that gap, right? To maybe influence someone if they're stuck in a way of wrong think that's actually damaging their life, and you're genuinely trying to hurt them, being holier than thou isn't going to win them over. There has to be, common ground built up and relationship built, to your point. And also the reason why like texting and all that kind of stuff is terrible is, one, most communication is nonverbal. Like even now that we're not in person, we're seeing facial expressions, we're kind of hearing the inflections of our voice. Like there's still a little bit more communicating going on other than just the words we're using. So that's a huge element why is you're missing most of it. Like 93% or something is nonverbal.
Yep.
The second piece there is it's really hard to be mean to someone face to face. It takes a lot more courage to be like really, rude to someone, and maybe it's misguided courage, but it takes a lot more of that, or anger, whatever the motivation is, in person versus, over the internet.
Yep.
And I think most people don't actually believe a lot of what they say. It's very easy to be hateful and rude because there's no cost. And so when you're in person, doing that consistently, one, heals you a lot. We need that interaction with people. Even if you're an introvert, you need that kind of, like Brandon here, my esteemed colleague, is a pretty introverted guy, but we talk a lot because it heals both of us in that exchange, even if we're disagreeing on something. And I kind of forgot the second piece there. The in-person connection, there's no replacement for it. And so if you're only ever living in digital texting and everything, you're really hurting yourself. It's not even just about debate or winning arguments or any of that kind of stuff. Just on a very basic human level, that's something we all need. Male, female, all of it. We need human connection.
Well, and even to that point too, George, I think it also illustrates to you. You show me your schedule, and I'll show you what means a lot to you. Just like, your schedule, your bank account, your checkbook. You often put attention to things that mean something to you. And it's very easy to write off a quick comment, a quick post, a quick text, and go on about your day versus getting on the phone or having a face-to-face or a Zoom-like conversation where you have that rest of that 95% of communication in play, and all it costs you is just a little more time. And I think people can pick up on real quickly, despite the world we live in with social media and smartphones and text messages, the fact that you're willing to spend time of your day to better hear somebody out and have a conversation. I think that actually speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Because most people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah. You're demonstrating, you're affirming that person's value with that extra little bit of time and thought and effort.
Mm-hmm. You hit the nail on the head too, because you look at the time and money. Obviously, money is a factor of time. And so when you look at where somebody's time is being placed, you know exactly what their importance, their priorities, their idolizations are. And, you were talking about step 4 and 5, winning the battle and losing the war. I can tell you a perfect example where I see that on a daily basis is marriages. People have a constant, I would rather win the war or win the battle right now and lose the entire war. It's like, what good is it for you to be right and die on this small hill and then lose your marriage? Mm-hmm. And, people do it every day, and it's a pure selfish motivation, lack of empathy, lack of trying to sit down and spend time with that person and work through what you need to. And like you said, if you're honorable about it, then you are going to sit down, you're going to spend that time, you're going to prioritize it. And it makes all the difference in the world in a relationship, especially when you're doing it consistently.